Hey guys, welcome back to What Would It Cost? Today our guest, his name is Ibrahim, and he's a young entrepreneur who's broken into the real estate space, and he's doing awesome at only 22 years old.
What is it going to cost?
How much? Hi, my name's Nicholas Regina.
My name's Michael Sakuro.
And you're listening to
What Would It Cost?
Is that good?
This episode is brought to you by Charlie Burger's Wine Program. They're Canada's #1 subscription wine program. Every month for just over $100, the Charlie Burger Wine Program will deliver you 3 beautiful wines and accompany them with the story and background of each wine. These are wines that are not available at the LCBO and curated for a wonderful experience. Visit cbwineprogram.com and start a subscription or buy individual wines from the online store today.
So
thanks, Ibrahim, for coming out.
Thank you guys for having me. Honestly, I love this show. I've been watching it day and night now, and I'm so honored to be here. I really appreciate you guys reaching out.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate the support,
bro.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
What do we do to get started? Where do we go from here?
Well, we're talking a bit off camera about the Airbnb market, and I'd love to hear your take on it. You're also saying you're an investor yourself, so really just bringing everybody through that, because we haven't had that conversation yet.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think, with the change of the market, a lot of people not really wanting to go into that rental space to be that landlord, more so either have a property management company come in or something that's more suitable like an Airbnb, a lot more cash flow, a bigger market cap on the property. So talk to us a bit about that.
Yeah, like I say, my first biggest problem with the long-term stuff is like right now, people are coming into your house and you're signing leases and it's about a year long, and you don't necessarily know, yes, you get the documents, you see, who they are, what they're making on paper, and kind of an insight as to who they are. But recently with COVID and whatnot, there's been like a sky high rocket rate of people not paying their rents and squatters staying in the place and not leaving. And Airbnb, apart from allowing you to kind of see the reviews of the tenant prior to coming in, it's a much higher, you're making much more from that unit than you would make in the long-term space, right? So, and then it's also safer in the sense that you know who's in your unit, you know the reviews. There's that sort of verification, that social status that they have now because of the reviews, right? And it because it's also a shorter term stay, that you're not glued to that person forever, right? So it allows you to be, let's say you do get an off bad tenant, right? You can get rid of that tenant after they're gone, right? It's more, I would say it's just more convenient for a lot of investors to kind of look into that space, but it's just very daunting because there's a cost of furnishing and people don't know where to start, right? And then there's also the fact that you got to manage something, right? There's people coming in and out, there could be shorter term stays, there could be maybe 14, 15 days. But that's really where you got to ask yourself, do you want to spend the time learning how to automate this to the point where you don't need to kind of even be involved in the business, I'd say, right? And that's really where I've got into as I said earlier to you guys, my dad's a very big real estate investor. He retired at the age of 30 because he came to this country, opened up a convenience store. It failed, but he made just enough money to kind of actually selling cigarettes wholesale, just to kind of get into his first home in Scarborough. And he was able to, take the equity from that home that he had built and the appreciation and buy his next property and maintain that home. He did a refinance, rented that home out as a long term, and then he bought it in Mississauga and continued to try and he just grew his portfolio, and he's he's a penny pincher. Sorry to my dad if he's watching this, but he doesn't like to spend a lot of money. He's very frugal, and that's a part of the reason why he got so successful. And he didn't have a lot of overhead costs, but then he started to deal with a lot of issues with the tenants coming in. And I kind of came in, I had gotten my license, I kind of opened up the idea of doing an Airbnb. I was managing mine, and he was seeing the success that I was having, and it kind of made more sense for him to try that space out a little bit, right? And see how it would go for him. So he simply just he did it. We went into HomeSense together, looked at a few couches, picked out some nice lamps, some accessories, and then I'm also a photographer as well. So I came in, I did the photography for him.
Nice.
I made a landing page for his Airbnb with like, you know, video, and then I kind of realized that like I could be selling this story to my clients too. And like now my dad's, you know, he's booked up for 3 months, right?
Wow.
And like all his stays are like, and that's the thing, the misconception with Airbnb is you can choose how long your stay is, like how your minimum requirement for a stay. And my dad has it set for like 15 days, right? So you're not getting those like shorter term people that are coming in for like 3-4 days to just party in your place. You're getting those like professionals that are coming in overseas. They have some form of event or a job that they're trying to accomplish here, and that's really like, you know, the kind of target market that, you know, you're supposed to have, right, when as an investor.
Absolutely.
So by knowing how to target the renter essentially, and by tweaking things like the limit of time that they're able to stay, you end up weeding out what you don't want to cater to.
Exactly, right? Initially, it's hard to get like bookings. It's really hard because you got to become a super host on Airbnb. Once you're a super host, it's a breeze. And becoming a super host, you have to have a significant number of 5-star ratings in order to get that super host label. But then you build that credibility now. And now that credibility translates into people, you know, trusting you more and wanting to book the place over even another place that might be nicer or even cheaper because you have that title as a super host. So it's all about building that, like building any business, right? You got to build that credibility on that platform. And Airbnb truly is remarkable because even the shorter term stuff, like you're charging $150 a night and $160 a night for like a basement, you know, like I have a client who he bought a house in Oakville and he has a studio basement, Bronte West, that community. And he's clearing $180 a night, and it's a studio, right? And all he really did was furnish it really well, but also high finishings like throughout the entire unit, like modern fixtures, you know, a marble countertop. Like it's an overkill basement. Like you would walk into this basement like there's no way this is a basement. Right. And we picked a property that had like massive windows, kind of like you know, the basement's like kind of sitting on the floor level of the home, right? Like it's not, so it has these huge windows and you can see light pouring in. Wow, nice. Right? So it is unique, right? To say the least.
Nice. No, that's awesome. And I like that you bring up the point, you know, through COVID with the issues with renters, because the rules have always been the same, but there wasn't a lot of light shined on it until COVID had happened, because really that's the biggest concern, is that the landlord has no power. It goes all to the renters. You can put no pets, they can still have pets. You can put no smoking, they can still smoke. You have no control. And then we've had some clients too that they're selling the property and it's costing them $20,000-$30,000 just to get rid of the tenant after. Whereas, like you said, for this, just that revolving door, there's no worry, and you're maximizing how much you're gonna make on that property. One
of my clients right now has a home that he rented out. It's a 4-bedroom detached home. He rented out 10 years ago. And the market rent that he's charging for this 4-bedroom detached is $1,800 a month. Right? And recently he went and knocked on the door just to say hi, you know, and see how they were doing. He had a pretty good relationship with the guy living upstairs, and he like, these like 4 students walk out and like he's like, who are you guys? Like what are you doing here? Like you guys even like, and like this girl walks out and she's like, yeah, I live here. And like, and then like, you know, he peeks inside like through the door and he sees like a bed in the living room, and he's like, what is going on here? You know what I mean? Mind you, he hasn't seen this guy in like 2 years, and it turns out that they subletted the place without his permission. They got a bunch of students in because the rent was so cheap. It's $1,800 a month for a 4-bedroom detached in Mississauga. You know what I mean? Wow. And it's not like a cheap community either. It's like,
of course.
And he like didn't want to increase the rent on them. Like his ideology was like, if I keep the rent low, like they're gonna be good to me, right? But that's not good necessarily, because now
you're absolutely right, and that's the issue too. Is that even that 1% increase you could do a year, 0.9%, whatever it is now, it's still not.
It's not enough.
Worth your bang for your buck. Whereas that again, the Airbnb, get them out. Oh, the prices have gone up. I'm gonna raise my price too. And you have issues like that. This guy's rented it for $1,800, and he's charging more.
And then he went missing for 2 years.
Well, so the guy disappeared, and
he's charging
the landlord.
No, the landlords. The landlords are the guy that was living there, the tenant, the original tenant that he rented.
Okay.
The guy disappeared, and there's 4 students living in that home, and we have been like, I've been trying to reach that guy for my for my client, and like we haven't been able to get a hold of him. And then I found out like I'm also like,
where do you think he went?
So that's exactly what I did. I did a background check.
Okay.
I actually went ahead and like I did like a full background check to find out where this guy is, and he's in the middle of like California right now. He has like 4 lawsuits against him for doing the exact same thing to other people, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Like this is like. He's doing well. Yeah, he's doing well. He has like 4
Cali.
Yeah, and apparently he's a realtor too. And it's just like, what?
Selling California real estate. Beautiful.
So
this guy found himself a beautiful niche in the market.
Yeah.
He's got 6 cities property. He's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's just...
Okay.
I want to talk more about this guy, actually.
No, it's quite interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
How did the story unfold, though?
Well, going on that, like, what's the rules against subleasing? That's the other thing, too. Is because, see, I've seen, you'll know this better because I haven't looked at the Airbnb space, so I have no idea. But I've seen these videos where it's like, find this place, you can rent it, like this place here, and then set it up for an Airbnb, and you're like paying, like you said, $1,000 a month for rent, and you can rent it out for $1,000 a week. So what's the rules on that for renting? Because I've seen some of those like those real estate videos where everybody's like, yeah, this is what I did to make all this money, but it never made really real sense to me that you could rent the property then Airbnb it without the landlord's consent.
Yeah, that so you do have to have the landlord's
Why don't you ask the guy in California?
100%. You know what I mean? Like,
let's get him on the line.
It's crazy, man. Like I could not believe it when he told me that they were just like beds in the living room. Like, just imagine like
maximizing.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, they literally. We to this day we have no idea how many students are in that home. We have no fucking clue how many kids. Like, there's like, like I just.
Oh, they're still in there?
They're still in there. Yeah, they haven't gone. They've been there for 6 months. What are you gonna do?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
how long's the lease for?
Well, the lease is over, and the client has now like proceeded with the courts up, but everything's backed up.
Yeah,
everything's
the courts are
backed up right now. Like,
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do in that situation? Like,
you send Ibrahim, and he's gonna go evict them himself. Kicks down the door.
Well, that's what I suggested, but I mean, obviously we can't do that. Yeah. Like. It's just my heart goes out to him because, like, honestly, like I feel really bad,
Were you the one who rented it to the guy in California?
I did not. He's a buyer client of mine. We've worked with him several times. He has a pretty big. A lot of homes that are all rented out, like a serial investor basically. And he's doing really well for himself for sure.
Yeah, good.
So when looking at the Airbnb market now, choosing where's the right place? Because even it goes for the same for rent. You don't want to rent in the middle of nowhere because you got to have it like main road, usually around schools or suburban areas, urban areas. So what do you look for making sure it's a proper Airbnb location?
I think that you have different choices, right? Like, if you want to cater to the cottage community, like the cottage vibe, you can make a serious amount of coin doing that. I know that like areas near Huntsville, the Simcoe region. I know they're more seasonal, but if you can get a place that has like activities to do in the winter and the summertime, and kind of like. That's the thing, right? You want to have all of these different like activities for the people that like take on the Airbnb and like, I mean, some places go as far as making it like a sex dungeon, right? And it's like you'll see like you walk into an Airbnb and it's like a whole 50 Shades of Grey setup, right? Like
the themes now.
Yeah,
talk more about that.
It's like sex swings and like. It's like, oh my god, like aroma candles, like every type of candle you could think of.
What would it cost after dark?
Yeah, so that and they're charging like $400 a night, and they're booked up. Like you can't book it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
oh wow.
Yeah, so it's like they've taken their little shed in the middle of nowhere and turned it into a sex dungeon and put it up on Airbnb for $400 a night, and now you have
promoted as that
and made a landing page for the property and promoted it on Facebook. Facebook ad manager, busting it out on TikTok, it's blowing up, and people are like, where do you find that? Like, let's be honest here. Like, if you wanted to book a sex dungeon, where do you go?
Right?
No, I'm sure there's a need for it somewhere, right?
No, good
it's wow. It's crazy how the Airbnb platform has evolved, and it's allowed people to kind of, really build this, like sell a property in a different kind of manner, right? To the end user. And I think
because if that was something, how would you rent that out permanently, right? Like it would be impossible to do that, right? So it kind of brings life to these niche areas that you can monetize, right, on a night by night or weekend or week basis. But really, if you had to rent out a sex dungeon long term, that's a lot of sex going on, right?
Well, even to go on the PG side, I've seen like in Orlando, what's really big is people are doing like Disney themed, Universal themed Airbnbs.
Yeah,
it's fun for the kids. It's like okay, instead of staying on the park where it's stupid expensive, you have this whole house, and there's Mickey Mouse. I saw this Star Wars one that had the doors going and everything to bring it to the lighter side. But to your point, it's really cool because you bring that niche aspect to it, and I think these guys are killing it even more because your regular house maybe will go for $2,000 that week, whereas this one's going to go for $4,000 because they really dialed it in with that experience.
And that's what it is. It's about selling that experience, and the more of a like the better experience that you have, the more you can charge. For example, one of my clients who's has an Airbnb in Oakville, actually brought a jet ski in and included it with the Airbnb. Like, take the jet ski out and go for a rip. You know what I mean? Like, and to that degree, like it's included. You come to the Airbnb, you can enjoy my jet ski, right? And you're selling an experience. And like, believe me, I mean, if I'm coming from overseas and I see an Airbnb that's like, oh, you can go and take my jet ski out, like, I'll pay the extra $50. I'll pay it for sure. And it's all about that experience. And you could do it in a basement, you could do it literally in any, I told you, like, that place was a shed. It was painted red. Like, I'm talking about the sex dungeon if you guys didn't clue in, but painted red with the neon lights on the roof, and like
what else?
Yeah, it was. You guys got to see it, man. Maybe I'll show it to you guys. I'll see if I could find it again. But
exclusive Airbnb.
Cool. I saw it on TikTok. I was like, oh my god, this is interesting for sure.
Nice. And talk about just a little bit about how you're so young at 22 years old, right?
Yeah.
And you're so knowledgeable in regards to the Airbnb space. You're a realtor. You've had prior businesses in which you've done well with, right? There's so much going on, but you're 22, right? So that's pretty impressive, bud.
I've always been a sales guy. Like, I mean, when I was 11 years old, I used to I'd buy like cell phones in bulk off of eBay, like Blackberries, and I would get on my bike and like ride my bike to Tim Hortons and sell them through Kijiji and Facebook Marketplace. I'd meet up with these people. I'd pull the cell phone out, like this 11-year-old kid pulling up on a bicycle, like locking his bike up and giving you a phone and taking like $50 for it. And I made like a little bit of money just flipping phones, buying them in bulk and then selling them.
Wow.
And
at 11?
Yeah, man. I was I needed to have a car by 16. I was like, I'm making it. I come from a very strict upbringing, right? So I wanted freedom. Like, that was my motivation, is like, I wanted to be able to pick up and go wherever I wanted to. And I knew that at the age I turned 16, I needed to buy a car. And I was like, there's no way that I'm not going to be able to afford it. So I had to do whatever it took. And I remember buying my first car, and I literally paid $800 plus a bicycle. I convinced the guy, because I didn't have the 900, and I was like, I have a bike. Do you want my bike? And he was like, sure. And I got my first car, no insurance. I was being very foolish at the time. I was just, living the dream.
So you just hopped in, started it, and just
and then I flipped that thing for $1,500 2 months later. I didn't even have it for 2 months.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was, and then just being around my dad, who's like, he came to the country with nothing, right? Like, he kind of put me in that environment that I needed to be in to push myself. And I did that. He never really I wanted to. Originally, I wanted to go the traditional route, go to university, get my degree, and I did. I went to university. I went to Carleton for economics,
and
nice. On my last year, I backed out of finishing because I had started, that startup I was telling you about. It's called Selly Stop, and the idea behind Selly Stop was I would bring all the various different cell phone plans into one platform where people could, submit what they're looking for. Like they're looking for an iPhone 12, and then they would be given different options, all the various different carriers, and then they could pick, which one they wanted to go with. And then I would take that lead and I would sell it to the nearest telecommunication dealer that, it'd sell the lead for like about $150, and, just connecting the two dots, and that carrier would then ship the phone out to the customer, and I'd make a little bit of money. And
nice, good for you, bro.
I just started dumping too much money into that, and I remember like I wasn't the greatest digital marketer at the time. Like I was morely just promoting, and just as many other people do it, just promoting. But it's a lot more complex than that, especially not with the housing category of Facebook. You're limited, right? Like you can't really you have a given radius. Like you can't go more or less. You can't target specifically. Like specific interests. It doesn't really make much of a difference in the housing category, but with the telecommunications sector, it was like I was kind of stupid with the way I was throwing my money at the business, and I kind of drowned myself in like $15,000 in credit card debt, and I had like no money to my name, and I was like living this life in front of all my friends like I had a shit ton of money that I didn't have, right?
Right.
And then in the meantime, like I was also like getting my license as a backup strategy, thinking that I could always sell a house to my dad one day. And even though he hates realtors, for the record, he really does. So I finished it, and I was like, okay, let me just give this a shot. If I can sell one house, I can pay off my credit card. And I did exactly that. Well, I started with the leases. God, I hate leases. But so I think I put about like 60 hours a week. I closed like 12 leases on my first month.
Nice.
And
wow.
And then I got my first sale, and I was like, I'm never touching a lease again. Like I was like, never again. I mean, no, I will rent your place, for the record, if you need me to, believe me.
The disclaimer at the bottom.
Yeah, like when it comes to someone reaching out to me looking to rent a place, and I gotta like take them for showings, and they're picky, and it's like, it's I can do it, but like I feel like my time is worth a lot more. Right now I'm bringing on a team member because I'm overblown with the leads that I have. We're generating like.
At 22, you said you were selling $6 million in the last 6 months.
Exactly,
right?
I did 6 homes so far,
on,
and I had a big ticket one. It was a $2.9 million home, and that was like a great experience, like the luxury side of things, and I really like that like experience. Selling luxury real estate is so rewarding, right? You also feel like a top shot. You walk in, you walk out of the house after the showing, and so I'm bringing on a team member to take care of this like surplus of leads that I have, because I honestly right now I barely have enough time to manage everything. I'm kind of like, and I'm not trying to be cocky or anything, but like I'm just saying like. The way I've set myself is I'm like a jack of all trades, and it's bad because I do all the videos myself. I do all the digital marketing myself. I do all the web development myself. I do everything myself. And I'm like working so hard to get all of those things done that I'm forgetting about the fact that I also have to close deals. Because I'm trying to, work on the business and rather than work in it. I know for a fact that I can bring on team members eventually and they can take care of the leads, but I want to make sure that, I have that handbook built. I can hold their hand throughout the entire process, make sure that they're going to be closing at least 2 or 3% of the leads that I give them. So like I'm morely like my vision is more like focused the long term, and now that I'm like financially like before when I first got in I was in $14,000 in credit card debt. I was like starving for cash. Now that I've built this up for myself, I have that at home that's giving me money as well. So
good for you,
it's
bro.
like I can take a step back and morely focus on building the brand, the bargainer brand, right? So that's my goal.
I love how you said you want to work on the business and not so much in it, but you've been doing a great job with managing all aspects, and then once you've learned and being the jack of all trades, you've learned a little bit about all aspects, it'll help you when you're working on the business, because when it comes to delegating certain tasks or keeping people organized, or giving them some inspiration to help them in whatever they're working on, it'll serve you right that you've gotten that experience. And you're still so young, and the fact that you're already looking at working on the business as opposed to in it, that's a great goal that you have for yourself. So I tip my hat to you on that part.
Thank you so much. And I can see the same thing with you guys, right? Like you guys have gotten to a point now where you can delegate all of these tasks, and that's where I want to be. I just want to make sure that I can sustain it, right? And having that liquidity to pay the videographer, have someone on a retainer, have someone working for me full time, following me around and making those videos for me. That's really important to me. I'm just getting a hang of the social media stuff. Like, I learned Adobe Premiere in a matter of 2 weeks, right? I crammed it. I closed everything off, stopped doing showings, and just focused on learning Premiere. And I remember I got my first client from it, and I literally lost it. I was just I cannot believe that worked, right? It's I just made a video about interest rates, and someone reached out to me, and it's that's crazy. And there's the old mentality to think okay, cold calling, door knocking, flyer distribution, all of that stuff. But the reach that you have with social media is remarkable. You can literally put out a video, and by chance it hits everything on the algorithm, and bada boom, bada bing, you're famous. And everyone thinks you're thinks you're the best realtor there is, because there's all this social credibility, right?
Tom Story said it, visibility almost beats out ability these days. So to go to your point, you catch a little viral hitch, and that's it. You're the guy, right?
You're the guy. And people come to your page, they say, wow, look, there's 1 million views on this video, there's 50,000 likes or 10,000 likes, whatever it is. I don't know, myself as a buyer, I would be oh, this guy's probably he's a shit, he's who I need to be working with, right? And if I can also build an experience where I'm now providing value in the sense of introducing people to this lifestyle where they can retire early by having the Airbnb rentals and having these cash flowing assets that are aiding to that early retirement, like my dad, then I think that I'm providing enough value to than the standard agent that just wants to get his 2.5% and sell you a home. For me, it's more about I want to introduce you to this whole new way of life that you could potentially be living in this home for completely free, right? Mm-hmm. And that's my game plan, is educating people on that, because there's a lack of education when it comes to that, right?
No, it's awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome
Appreciate
angle.
it. Appreciate
Awesome.
it.
Yeah. Bring a lot of value.
Thank you so much for coming out again today. We really appreciate it.
Thank
Had
you
a great
guys.
Conversation and shed a lot of light on the Airbnb market.
Yes, of course. Anytime.
Appreciate that. And let everybody know where they could check you out.
Yes, so you can reach me at Sold by Ibra on Instagram, or the Bargainer brand is at bargainer.ca on Instagram, and we're also on TikTok as well. So let me know if you're looking to buy a home, and if you want a little in on the Airbnb side, there are some secrets I didn't share here that I'm sure I could tell you about as well.
Thank you so much to everybody for listening to this week's episode. Be sure to like, follow, and share, and hit that subscribe button below.
And big shout out to our sponsor from CB Wine Program. Make sure to subscribe and get on their program, because they got exclusive wines that you can't get in the LCBO or anywhere else. You can only get them if you're a subscriber and you're with them. So again, shout out to CB Wine Program and Marco Tallarico. Really appreciate you guys.
See you next week.
Next on What Would It Cost?
How I started is another, I think, unlikely story. Is how I started. My background was not in human rights or in social work. By trade, I'm actually a copywriter. I'm a writer. But I did a lot of traveling, and I spent time in different countries. I lived in Europe for a long time, just over 6 years. And while I was living there, I spent time in different countries in Europe, and in African countries, in South Asian countries, researching and doing grassroots community work with women's organizations. Human trafficking happens in the same way every time. The first step is targeting someone to exploit.